Good morning, boys and girls. I'm really glad to be in your school today. I've got a fantastic story for you today from the Bible. And our story today starts very, very early in the morning. The sun was just gently rising over the hills and shining its rays down on the land below. And as the sun started to poke its rays through the windows of the houses, so there was a bit of a stirring. The women in the houses in the village were starting to get up. And they did this early in the morning, every single morning. The women would start to head out of the houses, perhaps gather in little groups, making their way down to do the job that they had to do that day. They would probably chat about the things that had gone on the day before, that kind of thing, as they made their way out of town for the very, very important job that they had to do. Because you see, each and every morning, very early in the morning, the women in the village would head out of town, out to the well, to get the water that they would need for that day. Now nowadays, if we need water, we just go and turn on the tap, don't we? But back then, and still in some countries nowadays, people had to walk a long way out of town, out to a well, to get the water that they would need for that day. And they would take out water jars with two handles a bit like this. Now if we saw something like that, we'd probably pick it up and carry it along in front of us like this, wouldn't we? But they didn't used to do that. They were really, really clever. They used to carry it up on top of their heads. I wonder when they first started out, they might have practiced without any water in, making sure that they didn't spill a single drop at all. But then as they got more confident, they would perhaps have dropped one hand down and walked along like this. And then as they got really, really confident, they would have taken both hands off and walked along with it balancing on top of their heads, making sure that they didn't spill a single drop at all. I'm sure that's the reason that the women used to do it. Because us men, sometimes we're a bit silly, aren't we? We'd have probably started to splash water over each other, throw water over each other. By the time we got back up to the village, there probably wouldn't have been a single drop left. But the women, they made sure that they didn't spill a single drop at all the way back up to the village. And the reason that they did it very early in the morning was because in that place, as the sun rose higher and higher in the sky, it would have got hotter and hotter and hotter, and it would have been much more difficult to do later in the day. Well, I say all the women headed out first thing in the morning. That is all the women except for one woman. You see, she didn't head out first thing in the morning, but she actually headed out right in the middle of the day when it was at its hottest, when she was sure that there would be no one else down at the well. Now, the Bible doesn't tell us the name of this woman, but I can't keep calling her the woman with no name, can I? Because that would be rather silly. So I'm going to have to give her a name. So I think I'm going to call her Samantha. Now, that's not because of any Samantha that you might know, but it's because she was from a place called Samaria. And that sort of rhymes, doesn't it? Samantha of Samaria. So I'm going to call her Samantha. And Samantha headed out right in the middle of the day when she was sure that there would be no one else around, because Samantha didn't have a single one of these. Now, if you watch very carefully, I'm going to paint some yellow letters with my red paintbrush. So here we go. So there's an F, and there's an R, and there's an I, and there's an E, and there's an N, and there's a D. Now I wonder, can anyone tell me, quietly put their hand up and tell me what that says by there? Here we go, right in the middle of my here. What's that say? Friend, that's right. Samantha didn't have a single friend at all. Can you imagine what that must be like? She must have been really, really sad. But you know, I'm sure all of you have got lots of really, really great friends, but she didn't have a single friend at all. She would have been really, really sad. But you know, there would have been a reason why she didn't have any friends at all. Because you see, Samantha sometimes used to do things that other people didn't like. Samantha used to tell some of these by here. Samantha used to tell some of these. Oh, okay, we'll quietly put a hand up and tell me what that one says by there. Let's see, here we go. Lies. She used to tell lies. Now we know, don't we, that we should always tell the truth, no matter what. But Samantha sometimes used to tell lies. And perhaps, you know, sometimes we think, well, if it's only a little white lie, we might be able to get away with it, or something like that. But you know, when we tell lies, it always gets found. You know, because we get found out here. But actually the Bible says that God up in heaven knows all the good things about us, but he also knows all the bad things about us as well. And so he knows exactly when we tell a lie. But also when we tell lies or do things like that, we find, just like Samantha, that people don't want to be our friend because they can't trust us. But also the Bible says that when we tell lies or do things like that, it actually separates us from God. That means that we can't be God's friend. But you see, Samantha didn't just tell lies. She used to do other things that were bad as well. As well as telling lies, Samantha sometimes used to do this by here as well. Anyone want to go down and tell me what that one says? Over there. Over there. Cheat. That's right, cheat. She used to cheat. But she didn't just cheat at games and things like that, but she used to cheat on other people. Samantha wasn't a very nice person at all. But as well as lying, as well as cheating, Samantha sometimes also used to do this as well, by here. Samantha sometimes also used to, can we go a bit further back by there? Steal. She used to steal. But she didn't just steal things, she used to try and steal other people's best friends. The women in the village wouldn't have liked Samantha much at all, and that's probably why Samantha ended up in lots and lots of these right here. She used to end up in lots and lots, right at the very back there. Fight. She used to end up in lots and lots of fights. Samantha wasn't a very nice person. In fact, the women in the village may even have called her Nasty Samantha because they didn't like her one little bit. But you know, I wonder if sometimes when Samantha was doing these things that were wrong, whether Samantha would think, oh, why did I do that? I really wish I hadn't done that. And it would make her feel really bad and mean and horrible deep down inside. And you know, I wonder if it's the same for you as well. Sometimes you might do things that are wrong, and perhaps your teachers or your mums and dads ask you why you did it. You say, oh, I really don't know. I really wish I hadn't done it. And it makes you feel quite bad and mean and horrible deep down inside as well, a bit like Samantha. Well, anyway, one day, Samantha was heading out to the well, and she was really surprised to see that there was someone else down at the well. And she was really, really surprised because it was actually a man down at the well. And men never, ever used to go down to the well. But Samantha thought, well, I'll just put my water jar down, I'll get my water, everything will be fine, everything will be okay. But then the man spoke. He said, excuse me, could I have a drink of water, please? Samantha probably looked around, wondering who he was speaking to. Because you see, men never ever used to speak to women like Samantha. But then she realised the man was speaking to her. Because you see, this was no ordinary man down at the well. This was someone really, really special. Down at the well that day was actually this person right here. Can anyone put their hand up and tell me what that says? Here we go in the middle right here. Jesus. It was Jesus down at the well. And then Jesus said something else. He said, actually, instead of you giving me some water, why don't I give you some water? Samantha looked at him a bit confused. How are you going to give me some water? She said, you don't even have a water jar or a cup or anything like that. Oh no, said Jesus, I don't mean that kind of water. He said, the kind of water I'm offering will actually clean you up on the inside of all the things that you've done that are wrong. But also take away all the bad feelings for all the bad things you've done that are wrong as well. Samantha was really confused now. But you see, what Jesus was talking about was that he knew a short while after this, he was going to go and do something amazing. Because you see, a short while after this, he was actually going to go and die upon the cross. And the Bible says that as he died on that cross, he actually took the punishment for all the things that Samantha had ever done that were wrong. But also took away all the bad feelings for all the things that Samantha had done that were wrong as well. But you see, the Bible doesn't just say that Jesus died on the cross for Samantha, but he also died on the cross for all the bad things that I've done wrong, and also all the bad things that you've done wrong. If you're willing to turn to him and say that you're sorry. And we know that that's something good to do, don't we? We know that whenever we do something bad, we should always go to that person and say we're sorry. And the Bible says that we should say we're sorry to God as well. But then Jesus went on to do something even more strange. Jesus had never met Samantha before. But then Jesus started to tell Samantha all the things that she'd done that are wrong. Samantha was probably standing there and she was a bit like, She couldn't believe it. How on earth did Jesus know all these things that she'd done that are wrong? But you see, the Bible says that Jesus is God here on earth. So he knows all the good things about us, but he also knows all the bad things about us as well. But as he was telling her all of these things, Samantha realised that Jesus still wanted to be her friend. Samantha was so happy. She was so excited that Jesus wanted to be her friend that she realised, well, actually, if Jesus wants to be my friend, then maybe I need to stop doing these things that are wrong. And my life is going to be much better. It's going to be amazing. Samantha was so excited that in actual fact she left her water jar where it was. She ran back to the village as fast as she possibly could. And she shouted out, hey everybody, get out here, come and have a look, this is amazing. The people in the village were probably wondering what was going on. They perhaps went to the windows, they twitched back the curtains a bit. Oh, is that nasty Samantha out there? Oh, she's always getting herself into trouble, what's she up to now? But as they looked at her, they would have seen that there was something different about her. Because instead of the usual scowl across her face, she had a great big smile. they went out to see her, and she said, it's amazing, it's incredible. I met this guy called Jesus down at the well, and he told me about all the things that I've done that are wrong. But he also said that he could help me with all of those things. Samantha was so excited and wanted to tell everybody because she realised that she'd found that she had a friend in Jesus. And you know, when I realised that Jesus wanted to be my friend as well, I was so happy and so excited. I wanted to tell everybody about it as well. Which is why I come into schools like yours to tell you these kind of stories about Jesus. Because you see, the Bible says that Jesus doesn't just want to be Samantha's friend, and Jesus doesn't just want to be my friend, but Jesus actually wants to be your friend as well, and to help you with the things that are wrong in your life. Well, I've got to say, you listened ever so well this morning. I just want to end this part of our assembly with a quiet prayer. So just quietly put our hands together, close our eyes. I'm going to say a prayer. I'm going to say Amen at the end. I'd really appreciate it if you'd say Amen. God, I thank you so much for the wonderful, incredible stories in your Bible. God, I thank you for the story about Samantha and how she realised that she had to change and start doing things that were good when she realised that she found a friend in Jesus. And God, I pray that as we go through our day in school today, you'll help us not to be like Samantha was at the start of the story, doing things that are bad, but instead you'll help us to choose to do what we know is right and good. Amen.